So you want to be rich, you've taken the first steps, and he has already entailed us, he being Ramit Sethi, the author of this book, he's already told us that a rich life is defined as whatever you want it to be, but it starts by taking control of your finances. You can't just let life happen to you. And a lot of people say, well, you know, that's a luxury. You have to have money to do that. That is not true. Even if you dig yourself out of that hole a penny at a time, being proactive about it is better than doing nothing at all. So I'm just going to recap where we were last time and then move forward. So you're going to get your credit score and your credit report. He estimates that takes about 1 hour. Why are you doing this? Because the last video we were talking about how in order to get ahead of your debt, you need to know what your debt is. Not only do you need to know what it is, you need to know exactly how much you owe and to whom, and you need to know the payoff date. And then in that time that you pull your credit report, you're also going to sit to decide how much extra, if anything, you're going to be able to pay. But he definitely recommends you cannot move forward until you know how much you owe, to whom, how much, all the things. And you actually need to call these people if you don't know. The second thing is to set up your credit card. That takes about 2 hours. If you already have one, just make sure that it's optimized in the ways that we discussed before. That is going to be relative, again, to whatever your situation is and what it is you're looking for. 3, make sure you're handling your credit cards effectively. Remember, this means setting up your automatic payments so your credit card bill is paid off in full every month. If you're worried that the money is not going to be there because things are tight, don't do automatic payment, but at least pay it on time, y'all. Because the thing that we talked about too was how much it impacts your credit score and how much more money you have to pay these people when you pay late and you let those interest fees pile up. So let's make sure we're doing that. 4th thing is, if you have debt, start paying it off. You have 1 week to plan. That's it. And then start. Don't put it off until tomorrow. Don't put it off until next week, because then you're going to be next year in the same situation. Do something. Do something, even if you're paying $5 extra a month. I don't care. Do something. So that's it. That is the part about improving our credit, using our credit cards and that whole department. Next, we're going to talk about beat the banks. There's a section here that I want to read first. And then we're going to get into it. So he says, last week you got your credit cards organized. Mind you, this is a 6-week plan. So if you're reading this book, read the whole thing and then go through the 6-week plan. It'll probably take the average person a little longer than 6 weeks. So don't get caught up on it being 6 weeks. It really depends on your financial situation, how bad it is, or how much cushion you have to do these things pretty quickly. So last week you got your credit cards organized. Now in week 2, we're going to get your bank accounts set up right. Since they're the backbone of your personal finance infrastructure, we're going to spend a little time picking the right ones, optimizing them, making sure you're not paying unnecessary fees. The good news is that this can be done in just a few hours over the next week. And once you do it, your accounts will basically run themselves. Again, if you cannot do auto pay, it's not going to be this easy breezy, but don't discount this because you can still do it. You're just not going to automate it. But if you can do auto pay, and if you're a person who knows if I set it up automatically and the money goes before I can spend it, great, do it. So he says the bad news is the bank account you have, probably from your neighborhood big bank, is most likely a big fat ripoff with fees and minimums that you don't need to be paying. See, banks love average customers because we don't really want to switch banks, and they think we don't know any better about things like monthly fees and overdraft protection. It's okay to be the annoying customer that calls and asks questions about fees and get fees refunded. It's so funny, when I worked in a bank, the people who would call and complain about fees were the people who, in your mind, you would be like, that little $15 fee ain't bothering them. Those people did not care. I got 10, 12,000 sitting in this account and I noticed a monthly fee. What is that? Why did I have to pay that? And how can you get rid of it? And they would call. And so it's funny because we don't, like, you don't think about that in the grand scheme of things. Like, oh, it's just a little normal fee. No, you should be trying to get rid of these fees as much as possible, because why should you be paying the bank any more money when they're using your money to make more money? So with this chapter, that's going to change. I'll show you how to pick the best bank and the best bank accounts so that you can earn a maximum amount of interest. In any ordinary business, you think that they better treat the customers. The better they treat the customers, the better they would perform, right? It is a reasonable assumption. Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos once said this: if you do build a great experience, customers tell each other about that. Word of mouth is very powerful. Amazon grew explosively into one of the most successful companies in the history of the world. But then there are exceptions, companies that seem to cosmically defy the rule that helping customers is good for business. Can you think of a company like this? He's going to tell you about one. Here, let me help with an example. Imagine a company that treats customers poorly. They levy onerous fees. They have terrible customer service. They even illegally open accounts on behalf of billions of their customers. What kind of company could that be? The answer is banks. So there's a review here, but then I want to do the 30-second test and then get into the next part. So hold on. I have a theory that the first 30 seconds in a restaurant tell you everything that you need to know. I was waiting for a train in Philadelphia, at the Philadelphia Amtrak station, and I was starving, so I went to a deli. The employee at the door pretended he didn't see me and looked away. The guy at the sandwich counter walked into the back and didn't reappear. And I caught a glimpse of a third employee sitting in an office watching TV. 3 employees, a customer walks in, and they all vanish. Here's my theory. If your first 30 seconds in a restaurant are bad, it never gets better. This is the moment when restaurants put their friendliest, most charismatic staff out front to greet you. If they fail at that, who knows what's going on in the kitchen? The real lesson is, when companies and people show you who they are, believe them. Wells Fargo committed fraud and was fined $1 billion by federal regulators. Believe that they are a pretty poopy bank that will screw you at the first chance they get. TIAA used to be a trustworthy investment firm. I even recommended them in the last version of this book, but after lawsuits surfaced alleging they imposed heavy sales quotas and pushed unnecessary products, I stripped them from all of my recommendations. On the other hand, there are companies that consistently demonstrate excellent values. Schwab rolled out a phenomenal high-interest checking account years ago that offered benefits for free. They've honored it and improved it over time. I trust them, and I have a checking account with them. Vanguard has consistently demonstrated long-term focus on low cost and putting their clients first. They actually lower fees proactively. I trust them and invest with them. I share this because I want you to become discerning about the companies you work with. This is your money. It's important. You should judge the companies you work with on their values and how they treat you. So then he has a section where he talks about how banks rake it in. And you can look that up. I don't want to... it's important, but I actually want to get to something. So then he talks about reasons that people don't want to switch banks. A few of them being, it's a headache to switch banks. What that really means. He says, honestly, I get it. You've got your account set up and it works. Why not just stay? My analysis, you don't have to switch. But if you spend about 1 day doing it, you'll ensure that the foundation of your financial system is solid. The banks I recommend are more convenient, cheaper, and offer better rewards than big banks. As you grow your income, you'll know you're working with the best. Another one is, I don't know where else to go. What he says is, this is irrelevant. Just read the rest of this chapter and I'll tell you the best banks. This is the worst. This is my first bank ever. I've only heard this once, but it's so ridiculous I had to include it. Do you have a lifelong love of your first thumbtack? What about your first garden hose? No. So why are you talking about how you cuddle up with your first bank ever? He said, GTFO. His words, not mine. So then he gets into the nuts and bolts and basically breaking down checking account, savings account, why you need these different types of account. Again, I got 10 minutes on here, y'all. So he says so many choices, so little time. And then he talks about credit unions. And he talked about it in a way that is a balanced approach. He has changed his opinion about credit unions initially, and this is what he says. They're constant navel gazing. Let me give you a painstaking explanation of why being member owned is better, blah, 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 blah. Instead of delivering solutions and features to my readers that they actually care about. Credit unions squandered a generational opportunity to position themselves against predatory and scammy banks like Bank of America and Wells Fargo, and I hope that changes. So he's basically saying there are some benefits to credit unions, but not enough for him to spend an amount of time glazing over why you should do that. So trust, convenience, and features are going to be things that you want to look for when you set up your bank. Don't be a rate chaser. We talked about that before. Typically, rate chasing is just going to waste your time. So the accounts that he uses are as follows. You can use these or you can do your own research, whatever. Checking accounts, he uses a Schwab Bank Investor checking with a Schwab One brokerage account. I haven't looked into this one yet. But it was surprising to me because it's something that I did not know about. He says your local bank checking account with no fees and no minimums. It's important when you set up your account to ask all of these questions. See if there is a fee. See if there's something that you can do. Maybe there's a minimum amount of money or a minimum amount of spending on that account where you don't have to pay a fee, and just make sure that you do your best to honor it. Savings account, he says, I would not encourage anyone to use a standard big bank savings account. Online savings account lets you earn more interest with lower hassle, and if it's online, you're probably not going to touch the money. He has a Capital One 360 savings and an Ally online savings account. I'm running out of time. I'm gonna do the next part in another video. This is coming from I Will Teach You to Be Rich. It's a 6-week program on how to regulate your finances for a rich life.